We got one more piece of business I want to ask you about. It's a quote from Ariel Helwani's interview with Stone Cold Steve Austin. He was specifically discussing the new series that's going to debut on Netflix this summer called WWE Unreal. He says, quote, "That's where I'm still a little bit, I'm a little old school on that. And it's like I'm a big Magic fan. If Harry Houdini was still around, I don't want him to tell me how he does it. I want to try to figure out how he does it. And if I can't, then I'm going to keep wondering and keep watching. But I'm going to keep wondering. So don't tell me how he's doing it, but see if I can figure it out. Because I want to think that I know that it's not magic, it's an illusion. But let me keep wondering about that illusion." Man, I love his approach here. What do you think of that quote? Do you think that Stone Cold's onto something, or do you think they'll use the Unreal show as another storytelling device for what we're seeing on the program? Like, I could see them using that to set up angles that are sort of an inception of kayfabe. Like, we're doing an angle about doing an angle. As silly as that sounds, is that not where this lands inevitably? Don't you think?
Could. It could. I look at it a little differently, and I have mixed emotions like Steve, and I've often used the analogy of, magic and kayfabe. So I get where Steve is coming from and agree with him in many respects. But there's another side of it. As the business continues to grow and evolve, and finding ways to connect and engage with the audience continues to grow and evolve. And you have to grow and evolve with the business of the entertainment business. At the same time, you're trying to protect the integrity of your product. So it is a conflict, or can be a conflict. Here's where I think it's going. And I've thought a lot about this because in a way it applies to Real American Freestyle and the challenges that we face in creating interest in a sport that outside the people that participated in it and their family and friends is not that well known. Okay. But let's look at MMA as an example. 20 years ago, if you asked somebody what a rear naked choke was, they would probably immediately think it's some kind of a sexual kink. Nobody knew what a rear naked choke was.
Right.
Now, if you take any fan out of the 20,000 people that show up at a UFC event, or find anybody sitting at a bar, or some kid that sees this stuff now on TV on a regular basis, because a rear naked choke is now kind of like a right hand punch in a lot of television shows and feature films. Everybody knows what that is. My point is, UFC has done a phenomenal job of educating their audience on the nuances of the sport.
Yes.
And in so doing, they've engaged the audience to become more interested. Call it infotainment. They're giving them the information. UFC is giving information in the form of color commentary, play-by-play, interviews, and all the different means of media that UFC is being promoted across the board outside of just the show itself. They have educated the audience as to what MMA is. Nobody knew what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, outside of the people that were really in the sport or a small segment of the audience. The general population had no idea what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was, as well as any of the moves that are associated with it, and holds and submissions. UFC has done a great job educating, just like the NFL has educated the audience. The NBA is an educated audience by virtue of all their means of communication. They're smartening the audience up to the intricacies of the sport, therefore engaging them at a deeper level. That's what this is for WWE. This is an opportunity to showcase what goes into creating this phenomenal presentation. How did they do it? Now, to Steve's point, you risk exposing the magic. But I think for the bulk of the audience, just like the sports audience, that's why the fantasy football, the fantasy sports league business exists because they've a creative market of people that have convinced themselves that they understand the product well enough to do it themselves. That's the best way I could say it. And that business has grown exponentially. It is now a massive part of what drives interest in sports. So if WWE can expose or infotain its vast audience with information that makes the audience feel more closely connected to the brand, because they're getting information that they feel connects them more and they feel closer to the product, that's a really good thing. But it does have some risks. It comes down to, how do they do it? Not should they do it. Of course they should do it. That model's proven itself across traditional sports and other forms of entertainment. The question is, how do they do it? Can they do it without disappointing someone like Steve Austin or Eric Bischoff? Because I want there to be a little magic too. But if they can present it in a way that makes people appreciate and respect the product even more, then it's a winner.
Let's talk about some other news in the wrestling space. I don't know if you saw this, but TNA had a fabulous pay-per-view this past weekend. They had a lot of tickets sold. They had some really great matches. The Mustafa Ali Santana match, I thought, was outstanding. It was a fun triple threat in the main event. But there was a spot that had people talking that I think we should show you here. Ricky Morton actually talked about it on Twitter. I'm so disappointed. Leon gave you his trust and body on the line for an amazing moment, and all of you dropped him. Thank God he walked away. In our business, trust is everything, and his trust may never be the same. Eric, I don't know that you saw the clip, but he climbed atop of the posts on the outside of the ring that they used to string up the cables for the Ultimate X match. So he's on the very top and did like a big dive off the top onto a gaggle of performers underneath. And we don't know exactly what happened. This has been hotly debated, but unfortunately, he landed a little tougher than maybe he would have imagined. And it feels like everybody has something to say about this, from Ricky Morton to Stevie Richards and everyone in between. And guys like Moose have come out and said, hey, you have no idea what's going on here. You've never been in a ring. Everybody should hush. Everybody makes mistakes, even former wrestlers who now have podcasts. So lots of people have opinions about this. And you were obviously an advocate for the luchadors doing some crazy things on Nitro. I mean, I remember seeing Psychosis, I think, jump off the top rope to the floor with a leg drop, or just crazy things like that. We saw Cactus Jack take some crazy bumps in WCW too. I mean, is there a place for this? Is this rightly criticized? Or should we as fans just, hey, watch the product and take a page from Triple H and just be a fan, not a critic? What do you think of this, Eric?
I didn't see it. I didn't even see a clip, so it's hard to comment on it. I think, look, was I an advocate for a lot of the high-flying, dynamic, incredible athleticism that the luchadors brought to the table? Yes, absolutely. It's one of the things I'm most proud of is a cruiserweight division, because it's one of the things that I think doesn't get the credit even I should have given it at the time, into making Nitro such a unique format. And in so doing, creating what I believe, nobody's going to convince me otherwise, let's put it that way, really has a major that cruiserweight division and the people that we brought in for it is the reason that you're seeing 70% or 80% of the wrestling presentation that you're seeing today. But there is an element of, does it make sense and is it safe? Doing crazy, high risk, insane maneuvers for the sake of doing them, when perhaps some people shouldn't be doing them because they don't have the experience, I think that's probably an issue that's worth debating. You don't want to see people get hurt trying to entertain the audience with what they think the audience wants to see, which is crazy, holy shit moments. Wrestling is so much more than that. But unfortunately, guys put themselves in positions where they're doing things that they either shouldn't be doing because they don't have the experience, or they're just too inherently dangerous for for the risk reward factors out of freaking whack. So I don't know. I didn't see it. I don't know which category it falls into. Should people just go, yeah, well, that shit happens? Or was it an extreme case of guys just doing too much that they're not qualified to do? I don't know. I didn't see it. I don't want to comment on it.